issues that are important to America's middle class. Again, when people ask me what are the three most important issues facing the Congress, I always say the same thing. Our children, our children, our children. Their health, their education, the economic security of their families, which includes the pension security of their grandparents, the healthy environment and safety of the neighborhoods in which they live, a world at peace in which they can thrive. But turn on the television and tune in to the C-SPAN and see what's going on in Congress, and what do you see? The politics of divide and distract. It's really sad. As Mr. Kennedy said, it would almost be a joke but it's just really not that funny. So let's instead vote, when we have a chance to vote on this rule, against the previous question. And that vote will be a vote to increase the minimum wage. That is relevant to the lives of the American people. In fact, it's relevant to the lives of millions of American people, many of them single moms, many of them single moms. Right now, the minimum wage is $5.15 an hour. If you work full-time for the minimum wage, you make about $10,000. If you're two wage earners in a family and you both work full-time and make the minimum wage, you make $20,000. You are below the poverty line for a family of four. Imagine two wage earners working full-time. Is that fair? Is that just? I don't think so. This Congress had no hesitation to give itself a raise over the past 9 years, $30,000 in raises. That $30,000 would take a minimum wage worker 3 years to earn just the increase in wages, salary that Congress gave itself. So there is no justice in what we're talking about here. I quoted in another debate on this subject the recent encyclical of Pope Benedict XVI. He said that in this, and this is a quote from Cardinal McCarrick, quoting the Pope, quoting a saint. In his encyclical, God is Love, Pope Benedict talks about the responsibilities of politicians, people in government. And he quotes St. Augustine, who said that unless politicians, people who are in the public domain, are there to promote justice, they are just a bunch of thieves. St. Augustine said, unless politicians were there in office to promote justice, they were just a gang of thieves. The Pope quoted St. Augustine, and the Cardinal quoted the Pope in his farewell address to us. And it is true. It is true. How can we be talking about justice? How can we be talking about our Constitution? How can we be talking about under God if we don't even meet the simple test of fairness to America's middle class, which is central to our democracy? How can we be talking about that here when people are suffering in our country? They don't know how they're going to pay for their health bills, and millions of them do not have health insurance. In fact, 6 million more people in America do not have health insurance since President Bush became president. 70% increase in the cost of health insurance since President Bush and this Republican Congress went to work on the American people. So the injustices are there, the opportunity is here, and it is being ignored. Because the priority of the Republicans in Congress is to distract and divide the country. It's time for the politics as usual to end. It's time for this House to be the marketplace of ideas that our founders intended, where we come to do the work of the American people. They tell us, make laws to grow our economy, to make our country strong militarily and in the health and well-being of the American people. Make our country strong in our unity and the reputation that we have in the world. Instead, we have this freak show, one day after another, of a rollout of distractions and divisions that is unworthy of this House, unworthy of the American people, and certainly does not honor the vision of our founding fathers, the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, or the aspirations of our children. So I urge my colleagues to vote no on the previous question, and that vote will be a vote to increase the minimum wage, which is, again, $5.15 an hour. It hasn't been increased in 9 years, while the price of gas, food, health care, and everything else has gone up. The purchasing power has gone down. Let us not be a bunch of thieves. Let us be a deliberative body that is here to promote justice. Vote no on the previous question. Vote no on this court-stripping bill, which dishonors the oath of office that we all take. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.